Hi everybody, this is Diane. Are you interested to see how I create the large pages that I need to go in these books? That's what I'm going to do right now. These two will need pages that are 9 by, before they're folded, 13, or yeah, is it 13 or 14? Now I forgot. 13. So 9 by 13, which scrapbook paper doesn't quite do it for the width. And this one is going to be 9.5 by also 13, I believe. Could be a little bit bigger than 13. So I've got a pile of stuff here. I'm just going to go through this and get things prepared to the right size. And you can see the types of pages that I'll be using. First of all, I have these pages that I took out of a very old cookbook. I love them because they have these tabbed pages, and but they are quite old and brittle. I did snip the threads in the center to pull them out, but there were quite a few holes where the signatures were sewn in, and some of the holes were kind of big on some of them, so I wanted to reinforce. So all I did was take some strips of paper. These just happened to be coffee dyed and, I don't know, Kool-Aid dyed or something, strips, and I just glued them down, and now they should be dry, so I am going to fold them right where the fold is on the paper. This one's a little long, so I'm just going to snip that off. And now it can be sewn into a signature. This one's kind of ratty here, but I'll probably do something to embellish that page. I just had to cut a little bit off the bottom edge of the page to make them fit into these books. I have a piece of wallpaper here. I've got a lot of this, so I will make sure each book gets at least one piece of this wallpaper. It's not that old, so it is not fragile. And I cut it, it's shorter than I need, but I didn't cut the width because I can fold it. Missed it by a little. So I could either sew that or glue it down to be a pocket, or leave it open so you can have more space to play with. So I will make sure I get several more wallpaper pieces prepared. I brought some stationery in here. I have these fold-a notes, which are always fun. But I wondered about sewing an envelope or gluing an envelope onto one end to make it wider. That would do. And we can tuck something right in there. envelopes. Here's another one. Let's pick a colored one this time. This one is wider. You don't want it to extend beyond the edges of the book. That's good right there. I love this one. Okay, so I have 3 of those. Well, I put the flap on the inside of that one. I have some more if I decide I want to do more. I have this. I think somebody sent this to me. I'm sure somebody did. And I am confused by it. I don't know why we have these flaps and this and then another fold here. I just don't understand it. You fold that up first. And then that's a double flap. So what I thought I would do is just put it in a journal like that. It might be too tall. Yeah, so I can fold one flap up. And that can be tuck spots. And then that will fit if I sew it right here into the signature. So I think that's what I'll do with that. And I have 2 of them. I love the design on them. I'm just confused at the concept. I have just a sheet of stationery. It has a little house on it. So maybe I'll put this in the little house, the journal with the house on the cover. I love the patina on this old envelope. It was in a box of vintage stationery. I think it was a Hallmark stationery. And this envelope was on top, and it had the paper band wrapped around it, the band that held all the envelopes together. And then you can see the glue, where the glue has marked up the paper. And I just think it's cool. A little crooked. Now it's not everything has to be big to fit the journal. It's great to have things that are small. I pulled these out while I was getting out envelopes, so I want to include these in the journals too somehow. I took my rose printed printer paper and sewed a flash card or one of these colored computer cards on one end and folded it. So that extends the paper a bit. Is that one too wide? Yes, it is. That one's too big. So I'm going to cut one end of this paper off and fold it differently. So that's a fun way to use some of the printer paper and also use up some of my fun cards that I have. I sewed scrapbook paper together, and I want, I think I only made 6. I need 9 of them so I can have one of these in every signature, and I'm making 3 books with 3 signatures each. I just want to make sure that where I fold is not going to be on a seam. So 6.5 inches. So I'm going to cut this to 13 inches and then I can fold it, and it won't. I think I can fold it without hitting a seam. The seam would be pretty close to the fold would be pretty close to the seam, so I'm going to cut some off of this end and then see where the seam would hit. Okay, that's better. And I'll cut it right there. And I will cut it to 9 inches. And I can use this for something else. Oh, how did it end up right on the seam? I thought I avoided that. I'm going to cut some more off, so it's going to be a shorter page. Let's try that again. If I fold it at 6.5, it'll be on that butterfly paper, so that's not the seam. And I can cut this right here. Butterfly paper is more like cardstock, so that's heavier. And I will cut it at 9. And I don't mind that this one isn't quite tall enough. I don't mind that at all. I was hoping that it would be a little bit short, just to add some interest. And I will do more of that. You don't need to watch me do all 6 pieces. I have this that came with that box of optometrist stuff. So I thought this would be a good time to use it. It's kind of crumpled. But I definitely want a piece of this in my journal when I'm keeping. I'm going to cut it a little short. I'm going to cut it at 12 because because like I said, they don't all have to be big. Guess I didn't need to mark it because I can measure that on this. But that's okay. So I can keep more of the E's on there. I'm going to cut off the margin. And I'm going to cut this one at 9.5 because that's how tall my pages will be. So won't that be a fun page in there? And I can do at least one more. Oh, that one has big E's on it. I'm actually going to cut it here so I don't have to chop those E's. Maybe I can use them for something else sometime. I might be able to put something on the back side of that to help where it's folded and crumpled. I have this large Architect's grid paper. It was already folded in half for something that I didn't use it for. So that's a good full-size page. Got a folded corner here, so I'll cut that off. And I still have more of this paper on a pad, so I can make some more of them. Let's see how many I have left. Came on this big pad. Oh, I've got quite a few left. I paid $4 for this whole pad, and I've used quite a few pages of it already. What else do we have here? I have these. I think I picked this up at Salvation Army one time. It's a tablet, but it's thin paper. That will work. I just need to cut it to the right height. Two here. Well, I want one to be 9.5. got this. I think there was only one. I'm going to save this for something else. It's really cool. I just don't want to use it yet. But I will eventually. These are some pages that came from a photo album. I think they're... Now that might be a little wide for the two journals, but I think it'll work for mine. I like the holes. I could tie yarn through that or something. So this one will be mine. I'm keeping a separate pile for the 9.5-inch ones. And in order to make this one work, I'll just cut a little bit off. This is just an art print of Mount Vernon. I remember I got that from Dave, the Blue Van Man, because he showed it to me. He said, I have something I bet you'd like. And so I added it to my pile. It's a little curvy at the end, so it's hard to make it straight here. I mean, the paper's curled up. Probably don't need to trim too much off it, but the edges are torn a little bit, so I'm trimming off the torn stuff. I have these wallpaper border pieces. I don't think I need to do anything to them except even the edges where I cut them with scissors. Different barns on them. They're just really cool. I love putting wallpaper in my journals. And I have these horizontal pages from a Reader's Digest sewing book. So I think they'll be fun to add. Do any of you watch The Good Doctor with Freddie Highmore? He's the reason I started watching it. I love Freddie Highmore when he was a kid. He was just the cutest little boy, and I loved the movies that he was in. He was in the Johnny Depp Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, and Finding Neverland, also with Johnny Depp. And I loved, forgot the name of it. Has Robin Williams as kind of a bad guy. Kind of nice, but kind of bad, too. August Rush. I love that one. Anyway, Freddie Highmore is in, he's an adult now, and he is in The Good Doctor. And he plays an autistic savant doctor. It's really good. Well, I hadn't watched it since I moved because I didn't have cable anymore. These are just the right height, and these are souvenir brochures, so they would fold out. I think I will trim an edge so it doesn't, because this would be in the signature and then this would be right next to the signature and it'll just get bent. So I'm just going to trim part of that edge off. So anyway, I hadn't seen it since I moved, and I saw that it's on Hulu, which I do have with my Roku. Now this one is going to be folded to the inside, but I will still need to trim it. So I couldn't remember where I left off. It was partway through a season when I stopped watching it. So I started watching the newest season, and then I realized there were things that were happening that I'm like, I don't know how they got to that point. When did that happen? So I had to go back and see that I missed some of the episodes from the previous season. So I finished that last night. I finished whatever the season was. Not this current season, but the one before. And I was very sad. But it was so good. So I was just wondering, do any of you watch it? So these things are fun to add in if you happen to have any. These are vintage ones, but anytime you go to a hotel or go anywhere on vacation, you can pick up scads of these things. I have this that came from one of those expandable things, expandable file folder, accordion file. You know what I'm trying to say. And I took it apart and kept the brown because I thought I could make really fun tags, but I think that I can make really fun pages with this, with those tabs. So I just have to cut it, make sure it's not too tall. Cut it to 9 inches. Oh, I'm going to cut, well, I'll cut it to 9 inches, but this one's going in mine because it has a D on it. D for Diane. Didn't press hard enough. Now if I just fold it, I'll have this cool page in my journal. That's fun, but I have more for the other journals, so I'll make sure they get one too. I have a wide ledger paper. This is not vintage. I actually, I've had it for several years, but I looked for it on Amazon or Walmart.com or something. Looked for ledger paper, and I saw this, and it didn't come in a book, it just comes loose like that, and it was landscape, so I thought that would be really cool, so I ordered it, and I love using it, and I've coffee dyed it before. This is from a budget book that I think I picked up at the thrift store, also landscape. So I don't even need to cut these. just have to have enough pages cut to the right size and folded and ready, and then I can put them into signatures and then embellish them. That's where the fun will come in. This came from a craft book on decorative painting, and it's a large pattern sheet. So, how am I going to cut this? I think if I cut it here, that's not going to work. I don't think I can cut through this many layers. Ooh, but I can. And then I can cut it. Oh, I don't need that. Cut it to 6.5 inches, and that will give me, well, I'm going to cut it to 6. There, 2 pages. Oh, I just cut the fold off. That wasn't smart. Now I have, well, there I have one. That's the only one that didn't work. As soon as I slid that, I knew what I did. I'm just gonna cut this down the middle and fold it in half. This was from Pattern for Sewing Doll Clothes. I think it came from a book about making dolls. A vintage book. And I love these pages. So a large book is a good way to use some large book pages that you may have. Got some more large book pages here, but I want to get to some of the other things that you haven't seen, like wrapping paper. At least you haven't seen them in this video, I mean. This was a full sheet of wrapping paper, but obviously I've used it. I don't want this to go all the way to the edge because it's a flimsy paper, so I'm going to cut it at 11.5. I don't know why I marked it when I can just cut it here on my cutter. Measure it here on my cutter. There's one. I have this one, which I think is pretty cool. That edge is very uneven. This paper seems more brittle. have wallpaper and wrapping paper and large book pages and ledger paper, stationery, souvenir brochures, and an old eye chart. And probably some other things too. Architect paper. And I didn't count. I have no idea how many pages I have here now. This was in with my wallpaper, but it was paper on a roll. But it's not wallpaper. It was crafting paper. But because it's on a roll, I can cut it as wide as I need it. Just cut that off. It's going to be one of the shorter pages. I've got lots of big pages in this book, but some of them can be smaller. And I have this wrapping paper that isn't even open yet, so I'll cut some of that. I also have pages from a large atlas. That will be fine. I don't need to cut it. So I think that's all the types of paper that I got out. I have more atlas and gift wrap and book pages and more of those to cut, and my sewn together papers. But you've seen the variety of papers that I have. I found these too when I was getting out my large papers. These came out of a paper doll book. I already had these pulled, the parts of these. I'm not sure where I put them, but I have them out here on my, oh, here they are. I pulled these out of wherever I had them stored to use in these journals somehow. But maybe I'll be able to use these. I don't know. I just pulled out stuff that I might be able to use. Love this. That would have been my kind of paper doll. So, I have plenty of things to work with in these journals. I know I'm going to not be able to use everything that I got out, but I think it's going to be really fun to start decorating. So thanks for hanging out with me while I prepped up some of my papers. I hope that it gave you some ideas of how you can put pages into a large journal. And I'm going to continue cutting, and I will see you in the next video. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.